si moshi wala sehemu kiraka. Jamani madege mengi.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, now welcome back to the second part of the show. Like I mentioned earlier, today being on a Thursday, we normally take time and discuss about matters to do with the economy, business, something related to that. And we have two birds to kill with one stone, and we want now to deal with the first bird, that is the current situation in relation to the economy of the country and how has been brought about and how has been, we've gotten here over whatever is happening in Russia and Ukraine. There is that war, and the war is said to be also affecting some of the few issues that are related to the economy here in the country, and that is what we want to discuss here together with my guest, Mr. Abubakar Juma, who is a business professional, is also quite knowledgeable when you're talking about matters of business and the economy, and he is the current business lecturer at the ICS. He'll be introducing himself in just a bit, but in a nutshell, what we are discussing, it's the Russia-Ukraine war in relation to the cost of living in the country. I'll be explaining to you why is it so, and also what we want to discuss concerning that as well. Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you.
How are you? Karibu sana.
Thank you, thank you.
This is Post TV.
Thank you.
And for the benefit of my viewer and for the fact that you're new on our TV, who exactly is Mr. Abubakar Juma and what does he do?
Well, Mr. Abubakar Juma is an undergraduate in Masters, taking in Business Administration. At the same time, I'm a lecturer at the Institute of East Africa of Certified Studies. That is, we have quite a number of branches, 6 branches actually, totally in Kenya, branches in Kisumu, Eldoret, Nairobi, Mombasa, and we also have some virtual learning platforms. So currently I'm based at Mombasa as a lecturer of business studies.
Right.
And this is my second year of study. So that is Mr. Abubakar.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
And of course, we are so grateful that we do have young guys getting into becoming undergraduates. Missouri.
Yeah.
And right from it, let's start from here. The situation that is happening between Russia and Ukraine, is it said to be affecting our economy in one way or another? And we as Kenyans, we are wondering, how is it even so?
Yeah, the situation is adverse. It persists not just in Kenya, but it cuts across in many countries. More so if we can discuss on the East Africa region, whereby when you talk of the East Africa majorly, we sent our argument on Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, and Rwanda at large. And the war actually, it has persisted in terms we have inflationary measures, whereby the inflationary measures entails the cost of living is rising. And when you discuss or when you look into the economy of Uganda, we have inflation rates that are rising from 3.5 to 3.8%. And in Kenya, they are as high as 5%.
Right.
It is the highest in East Africa, Kenya. So actually we are facing a lot of effects. We are facing a downward spill in the economy. We are facing externalities with the ongoing war that is taking place.
And does it mean that our economy is not stable as such, and we should be dependent on such countries, you know?
Yeah, when it comes to trade and economical matters, we normally have comparative advantages and absolute advantages. So literally, as a country cannot be in a position to produce everything. You need to rely on some other persons, you need to rely on some sourcing materials, importing, and as at large, we should be worried. We should be worried. Prices are going to escalate. The cost of living is going to be high, and it's really a big deal.
A big deal?
Yeah, it's a big deal.
And inside this big deal that you're talking about, do you think the government is doing much?
Well, yeah, we cannot say that the government is just watching or the government is assuming. Of course, when you talk of the imports that Kenya we've been handling, for instance, wheat comes at a time whereby the season in Kenya, we are facing some shortages in our harvest, such as the grain and the wheat and the maize, and at times we depend from importing from other countries. Now, the government should come up with various measures on how to curb or on how to bring about better life to its citizens. So I presume that there are some measures that the government is trying in order to avail a quality life standard to its citizens.
Right. Very well. And whatever you're speaking here, it sounds more complex for Kenyans to understand, simply because it's more of too much detailed when it comes to the economy. And to this common mwananchi, if at all is watching and he needs to see that price of gas going down, he needs to see that price of wheat going down, and he feels that the government is responsible for all these matters and these issues, what do you think the common mwananchi needs? What role can he play also inside this all stuff?
Well, for the common mwananchi, nothing much can be done, to be precise and to talk on facts, because the aftermath of war cuts across in many countries, not just Kenya, but around the world. Because when you talk of Russia and Ukraine, some of their main export that they make to other countries, including the corns, including the seed oils, including petroleum, and a country like Kenya, we are so much dependent over importing petroleum. Now it becomes really a big situation for us, now that we cannot have or manufacture our own petroleum, we have just to import the product. Now with the war, whereby we have closed down of the air spaces and all that, it's really not up to the common mwananchi, but prayers maybe. Maybe a resolution should be
prayers.
Maybe we talk of prayers, delegations, trying to solve the situation where problems are and try to see how the two countries can come at peace.
Right. We'll be coming at how these two countries can come at peace, so as we cannot get into more adverse effects of that. But speaking about the country Kenya now and the way our economy is going, especially now at time at which we are headed into a general election, do you feel like we have lessons that we can draw out from whatever is happening between Russia and Ukraine on how we can build and stabilize ourselves, not to be dependent so much on international community, for instance?
As earlier as I mentioned, at times for the development of our economy, in terms of resources, we need resources so as to start up businesses, to stabilize our economy, to develop some new ventures. So all that to happen, as I earlier said and I mentioned, kwamba a country cannot be 100% in a position to fully fund itself in terms of the resources, the finances and all that. No wonder we have our president, Uhuru Kenyatta, moving about and trying to finance in some loans in order to stir the economy up. But then if we talk of like a country being independent on its own self, it actually comes to a point whereby it is close to impossible.
Right. And now, if this situation persists, you as a business professional here, where do you think Kenya is headed to?
Cost of living. There'll be a rise in the standards of living, whereby the common mwananchi will struggle for the necessities, the social amenities, when you talk of the food, the investments, maybe finances to advance in small-scale businesses. For the common mwananchi is actually going to suffer, and suffer in the worst criteria that maybe you have never experienced.
Right, but we are not simply scaring them. We are just saying what is there.
That is the reality. We need to face the reality in order for us to figure out our steps, in order for us to have some planning mechanisms that maybe we can implement and see how maybe we can resolve the situations.
Good. And these mechanisms that you say that maybe we can implement, for instance, where should we start from? At the moment now, yes, the situation is there. We know cooking gas may soon go up. The cost of oil production may go up. We are told that also wheat. I don't know, we are importing wheat from Russia?
We are importing wheat.
We are importing wheat.
A large percentage of our imports, we depend on Russia and Ukraine at large.
And the two. Right. Now, if we want to, get ourselves there with the current situation, because we don't know when it's going to end. You've just spoken about prayers here. And when you talk about prayers, it's a wait-and-see situation. How then do we, under this mechanism that you're saying here, which one are they, for instance?
Well, one of the best mechanisms that can be implemented should be on the education system. Should we implement graduates, scholars that won't be in the economy trying to search for jobs but create the jobs themselves? As much as we have limited resources. Now, if we can be in a position to optimally utilize what we have in terms of business startups, in terms of small entrepreneurial projects, then we as a country, we can try and better off such situations when they escalate to this magnitude.
Right.
Otherwise, if the education system is so rigid in that the scholars and the graduates are only still with theoretical aspects, with the limited to offer in the practical aspects, then it is an alarming situation. It is an alarming situation.
Right. Right. And whatever worries me, Mr. Bubakar here, is that this is not the very first time that we as a country know that we are dependent, maybe for instance, to at other countries.
Yes.
Like now that you've spoken about having to import wheat from Russia,
yes.
We know that that is what we are. And when I did ask you about whether if the government is doing much, your response was kind of two-way. And now that we know, yes, we need to get wheat out from Russia to come into Kenya, and there is this push to have the improvement of our farming system here in the country. Do you think this is a situation that we will forever live with as a country, and the fact that we are still growing, a third world country that we are still growing, are we likely to see a change in this?
Change will take time. As a matter of fact, not just exporting wheat, the country also depends on Russia, Ukraine to import fertilizers. And for a 50 bag of fertilizer, currently it has escalated to almost 7,000 Kenyan shillings. The bag that was being sold at 2,500 shillings.
Right.
Now you can see the situation, how hard it is. You import wheat, you import fertilizer, you have to grow up your plants, and then you have to make flour, you have to bake. No wonder for the price of bread, it escalated from 50 shillings to 60. And even as per the standards that we see, we expect the prices also to increase further from that 60 shillings, maybe to 67 to 70 shillings. Now that is the reality that we have. Now if you are going to import all the essentials that we need to feed our citizens, now it becomes a really problem. Right. And it's not a problem that will take maybe 2 or 3 years to change, but it will take substantial amount of time to change.
Right, very well. It will take some substantial amount of time to change. That is what Mr. Bubakar says here in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen. What we are discussing, we are trying to internalize the effects of the fight between Russia and Ukraine into our economy in the country. And you'll agree with me, as of now, you know that some foodstuffs and of course the gas have escalated in price due to whatever is going on, and the government is promising to, get interventions to try and solve that issue. We'll be coming back to discuss also on a very interesting matter here, because you're speaking to me, Mr. Bubakar, about, waiting to see how things are going to pan out. The change is not going to come so easily. Now, the fact that we are headed into an election, there has been so much promises. Manifestos have been created, agendas have been set in relation to the improvement of the economy, and also coming in improving on different sectors of the economy of the country. How practical are these things with the current situation that we are facing? We'll be coming to discuss that in a nutshell after this short commercial break. So ladies and gentlemen, keep your comments coming. I'll be sampling some of your questions to my guest, as well as reading some of your comments as we get along with the program. By now though, I'm taking a short break. I'll be coming back in a moment.
Wala sehemu kiraka. Jamani, madege mengi mpaka hili nalo dege. Kumbe dege. Dege tena dege lisoliwa.
Boss TV, where inspiration strikes.
Sikumwona na macho haya yangu, lakini jamani, kuna mwanga.
Tetewe rero chinyama, tetewe rero chinyama.
Habari za jioni jamani, mpo salama?
Hii dunia na vituko. Sasa wanulize hivyo kama nani?
Nilimkanya kuhusu yule kijana na bado hajasikia.
Mimi nimechanganyikiwa.
Na ndio maana nimekuita wewe unisaidie tu. Siwezi shida katika.
Unajua mimi nashindwa kuelewa kabisa. Mwajibu wako kutekeleza unshindwa.
Chanzo ni nini?
Boss TV, where inspiration strikes.
Tufanye jambo gani ili tujizuie na magonjwa? Ama ni kwa nini tunapata magonjwa? Na je, ungependa kujua mengi zaidi kuhusu magonjwa tofauti na jinsi ya kujizuia? Basi mtazamaji wangu, ungana nami Judy Ngongoni Kiongo na ndani ya kipindi cha Jukwaa la Afya Yako, papa hapa ndani ya Boss TV, mahali ambapo maswali na maswala yako yote yataweza kutatuliwa na wahudumu wa afya kutoka hapa Pwani. Tegea Jukwaa la Afya Yako.
Boss TV, where inspiration strikes.
Wanifanya mimi mwana kukulala sio? Hivi wewe Heri, waniona mimi mjinga sana?
Sema ni vile namuonea huruma tu dadako. Lakini siku nikimtia mikononi, wewe mwenyewe utanambia.
Hata konsha sawa. Lakini nitakunuulia, usio na wasiwasi.
Sasa ushapanga cha kunidanganya ili unikuamini sio? Sasa sikiza na unisikize kwa makini. Ile siku nitakuja kukufumania ndio utanijua unijue.
Wewe kuma uyue? Uyue kama siku hizi kule original na kule mshina.
Right, we are still proceeding here in our discussion, our first discussion for that matter. Remember, today we are dealing with two discussions. The first discussion is about the Russia-Ukraine war on the cost of living, and also looking at some over the few agendas that are in line with the improvement of the economy. That is what we are dealing with now. And later on also, we'll be talking to Mr. Franklin GITAU. He is one of the few business professionals also handling matters about SMEs from SOMO Africa. That is an entity and an organization that talks more about improvement of SMEs. He'll be telling us more about that, and we'll be speaking about the improvement of SMEs in the country. It's quite a bigger sector, and we'll be talking about it as well. But welcome back, sir, as we get to the second part. And you were telling me, yes, we need change, but change will take some bit of time.
That's right.
And this change even starts right from the moment at which we elect our leaders. And right now, being the fact that we are headed into an election, there is so much campaigns and manifestos have been launched. There has been agendas been set in relation to improvement of the economy. And I want to get this from you, being a business professional. Do you feel like most of these agendas that we hear and about of help to the current situation, and do you think they are practical enough to solve our problems we as Mwananchi?
They're of help. Now, of help comes in a lot of dimensions. When you talk of agendas being of help, they're of help to the leaders to get votes, but not to ideally develop the economy. This happens in most of the elections that you have seen, the campaigns, rallies that people hold. People set big agendas. For instance, we had some motives of the 2030 planning, economic planning of Kenya. And up to date, if maybe we have to gauge on a percentage, maybe even a 40%, we are struggling to have that.
Right.
And this was a campaign that was launched years ago. So now what the politicians come on board, they only tell the common Mwananchi what he has to hear to cast the vote.
Right.
But what happens afterwards? What happens normally, it's like a dream come true. Most of the agendas that are being set are unachievable actually. They are unachievable. In terms of the economy, we are still staggering behind. We are still having some high cost of living. What is promised comes maybe 10 years after the promises that have been made. So it's for the grounds of politics that we are facing, we cannot really have faith in the plannings of the aspirants as much as they may be too much convincing to our life. We are not ascertained on the nature or what is to come. We are only estimating or we are only anticipating that it will be, but we're not sure of it.
Right.
So we are still in deep problems. Yeah.
Right. And if we then have to get ourselves out from these problems, and we need to relook at some of these agendas that will spearhead how we revive the economy, and the different contestants who are coming on board, especially those who want to become president. And from your side, in your capacity as a person who understands business and the economy of the country where we are headed into, do you feel like the common Mwananchi has a need to look at some of these finer details inside these agendas, especially those that include the improvement of the economy, and how do we get to gauge them?
Yeah, it's a matter of fact that the common Mwananchi has a very big role to play. Now, if we are only going to cast votes for the sake of he is maybe of some tribe, he is maybe of some race, or he is a family, or I've been given something for me to vote, then the problem will definitely haunt us. In that, we need to have in leaders whom have a longer future, a longer objective, that see things in future dimensions, leaders that they have the affairs of citizens prior, upfront, rather than their self-interest. Leaders whom, if accorded some financial flaws, the finances can be developed to better off the life of the common Mwananchi. Otherwise, if we have leaders that if given some development funds, expenditures, what is being done is maybe 20% of the funds. Now that the fact that you see some faulty roads, some faulty bridges, some companies that are being formed in the spell of 5 to 10 years, they're nowhere to be seen. Now we need to have leaders whom have missions, whom have motives to develop, have the affairs and factor in the needs and wants of the citizens. Otherwise, the greedy and corrupt leaders, it's all a total waste.
Right, a total waste. Now, I want to give you a minute, sir, as we wrap it up. I think your camera is this one. And I want you to speak to Kenyans concerning their hope inside the improvement of the economy. It's quite difficult, you know. We have to wake up and make ends meet. Here in Kenya, some of them will tell you that wanavumilia kuwa wa Kenya based on whatever they are facing, and they feel the government is doing little about it. What can you say as we wrap it up?
Well, my message to Kenyans watching will be on to utilize any resource that you have. Now, when it comes to resources, every single coin counts. Yeah, anything that one has control over, it will definitely count on how that person uses the resources. And majorly, let us not have our notion and let us not have our high dependency on what the economy has to offer. But then let us have the notion of what we have to offer to the economy. In that, the setup of a small business that maybe can earn or have a return as little as 200 shillings. Someone might not be in a position to factor that in, but actually it is better for that person to have such a minimal amount of time within some length time of operation rather than to get employed. So my appeal to the economy on how things are turning out, on the reality of matters being any person who is maybe in a position of some piece of land, rather than making some commercial buildings, it is also advisable to factor in the agricultural output, be it's maybe domestic or maybe commercial, and this one will also be an influence, not just to the person, but to a wide number of persons in his homestead.
Right. Very well. And I love the fact that you've given me a hint on another topic that pertains to how do we get to use our pieces of land. You know, mostly people have land, but they look at how they can do some bit of building commercial houses and real estates rather than getting into the agricultural sector. And we'll be talking about some later day about that, what is happening within our agriculture, why are people running away from agriculture in itself, and how do we get to improve on it, right? Yes, but thank you so much, Mwalimu, for coming through. We do appreciate your time, and we're so happy. If they want to find you, where can they find you exactly?
Well, I have a Facebook page.
Right.
And Twitter handle, I'm also available as Abu Din.
Right.
And also in some Instagram, I'm also available there. And physical location, Mombasa. My home residence, Tongwe. And my area of work and all that, the Posta Pension Towers.
Right, yeah. Definitely. Right, thank you so much, and we'll leave it at there. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, we are taking another short break here. When we come back, we are discussing about small, medium enterprises. What are these? Do you know some? You know, most people are venturing into SMEs, not knowing that it takes a lot to run these SMEs, and it's turning out to be so difficult. So today, we want to help you out to understand how can you improve the productivity of your SMEs, and some of the interventions by government to try and also improve SMEs, and also other firms, financial entities that have come on board to talk about improvement of SMEs. And I'll speak to one gentleman who is Mr. Franklin. He'll be joining me in studio here from SOMO Africa to discuss concerning how they are also working in ensuring that there is improvement of the SMEs. Don't go too far.
Boss TV, where inspiration strikes. Boss TV, where inspiration strikes.
See, in fact, you are everything I ever wanted in a woman.
I think your husband is having an affair.
I'm so fine this marriage.
See, these things happens in Bollywood movies.
I've discovered that you're a witch.
Why don't you have a single drop of human sympathy?
The fact that I've been polite with you all these years doesn't mean I'm afraid of you.
You better take care to whoever that is responsible for that pregnancy. We don't have a bastard in our family.
I will not be here and allow that useless girl tear my family apart.
Point of correction. I am not abandoning my own family.
What is it? Shh! Frank, you won't sleep with me, your wife in the house, you won't sleep with me in the office. How do you want me to get satisfaction? How do you expect us to have another child?
Don't you think this is not?
Oh, please don't tell me that!